Why don't you ever trust me, Mom?
So what, you'd rather give the inheritance to someone else, Mom?
If you don't trust me, then just go die. Go die!
I'm telling this story from a dusty little corner of the world, where every evening the road hums with passing cars, and where I've seen far too many people pay the price for trusting the wrong hearts. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this: not everyone who says "I love you" truly means it. Not everyone called family actually wants what's best for you. A mother may be poor, she may be frail, but her love is the only love that never betrays. Don't wait until you've lost her to realize who loved you most. If you're watching this from anywhere in the world, take a moment to remember the hand that once guided you through childhood. If this story moved you, leave a comment and share your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to Afrital Sadek, so you never miss the stories that awaken hearts and remind us what truly matters. Thank you for staying till the end. I'll see you in the next story. Mrs. Merriam had been a widow for many years, living modestly, yet carrying herself with unwavering dignity. Her house sat at the edge of the village, its brick walls peeling, the tin roof punctured in several places. Whenever it rained at night, the drops would fall rhythmically into the aluminum basin she kept in the middle of the room. Every morning, before the sky turned from violet to blue, people would already see her bent figure on the doorstep, straightening the scarf around her head, checking her baskets, then pushing her little cart toward the market alone. She carried a serious illness, a weak heart paired with failing lungs. Every step felt like a stab in the chest, her breathing short and broken. Sometimes she had to stop by the roadside, one hand gripping a tree trunk as she coughed so hard tears spilled out. But the moment she thought of her son in a faraway city, his frugal student meals, his late nights finishing reports, she would straighten herself, wipe her eyes, and keep pushing. At the market, amid shouts, bargaining voices, and roaring motorbikes, Mrs. Merriam somehow maintained an air of quiet pride. Her goods were few: vegetables, a handful of produce, sometimes a couple of free-range chickens. When someone asked to slash the price in half, she would only smile and answer slowly, "Everything has its worth, child. I still have to send money for my boy to study." The whole village knew, without Mrs. Merriam, that boy would have never become anything. They had seen her skip meals to save for tuition. They had seen her walk miles to avoid paying bus fare. They had seen how, whenever Ibrahim returned home, she would fuss in the kitchen, cooking his favorite dishes, even though she knew the next day she'd be eating cold rice with sesame salt. When Ibrahim reached his final year, her illness worsened. That night, after a long fit of coughing, she leaned against the wall, staring at the internship evaluation he had sent, the words "graded excellent" lighting up her tired eyes. She ran her fingers over the paper, as if touching her son's face. "The boy made it," she whispered, pride and exhaustion woven into her voice. The day Ibrahim graduated and was accepted by a major company, she cried the entire afternoon out of joy. The news came through a short phone call. On the other end, his voice sparkled. "Mom, I got it. The company is huge. The building is so tall, you have to tilt your head back just to see the top. My first salary. I'll send it home to you." She couldn't reply right away. Tears streamed hot and fast, mixing with her rough cough. She clutched the phone to her chest as if she were holding the small boy he once was. Yes, I hear you, Ibrahim. You've done well, better than your mother ever could." That day, she didn't go to the market. She sat on the porch, looking down the dusty road leading to the highway, the same place she once stood waving goodbye until his bus disappeared from sight. The wind blew, carrying red dust and old memories, but pride stayed, swelling inside a chest already too tight from illness. What few people knew was this: the Yusuf family held an old inheritance, land, property shares, and a large investment fund. The mold-scented documents were tucked carefully inside a wooden chest beneath her bed. Wealth gathered over generations, through division, disputes, and survival. Before her husband died, he once told her, "One day, all of this will belong to Ibrahim. But not so he can be rich, it is so he can choose a decent life." After his passing, Mrs. Merriam carried both the tangible and intangible legacy alone, the assets and the burden of honor. She knew the wealth was enough for her son to never struggle the way she had. But she also knew, given too early, fortune could become a curse. So she intended to hand everything over when she turned 67. The age tradition said the head of the family had seen enough joy and sorrow and understood enough of human nature to pass the mantle. She wasn't superstitious, she simply believed in the wisdom of those before her, the idea that blessings must be given at the right time. On sleepless nights, she would sit up and open the wooden chest, turning through decrepit papers, the dry rustle mingling with her slow heartbeat. She didn't see money, land, or advantage. She saw doors opening for her son, a life without ridicule, without bowing his head, without repeating her poverty. She only ever wanted one thing, that my boy may live a better life than I ever did. When Ibrahim met Zara, he was as good as spellbound. At the first company party he was invited to after his promotion, he stood awkwardly in a corner, clutching a glass of juice, unsure who to speak to. He was born in a village, raised by his mother's sweat and sacrifice. So glittering halls, loud laughter, and clinking glasses had never felt like home to him. That was when Zara walked in. She wore a wine-red dress, shoulders bare, soft curls brushing her neck, her smile light as silk. She lifted her glass, touching his gently. "You look like someone who wants to escape this place right now." Ibrahim blushed and gave a shy laugh. "You might be right." Zara didn't laugh loudly like the other women in the room. She just tilted her head, studying him with deep, dark eyes, as if she could see right through the layers of awkwardness he tried to armor himself with. "I'm Zara, marketing. Ibrahim, finance." That night, they talked longer than he expected. Zara asked about his village, his mother who sold at the market, his years juggling school and part-time jobs. She listened, truly listened, without interrupting or looking bored. The feeling of being heard, not because of work or numbers or reports, made Ibrahim feel like he had just stepped out of a suffocating room and breathed fresh air for the first time. A few weeks later, they officially began dating. Zara was beautiful, sharp, and her tongue was honeyed. She knew how to say the kind of things that made a man believe he was the center of the universe. "No one understands your pressure the way I do. You deserve better than this. You weren't born to stay a country boy forever." She played the perfect woman, gentle, attentive, daughter-in-law material. The first time she visited Mrs. Mariam in the village, she came prepared. Fabrics for new clothes, vitamins, a basket full of gifts. She bowed low, calling her mother sweetly, so sweet that even neighbors watching from a distance nodded. "You're lucky, Mrs. Merriam, this girl will make a good wife." During dinner, Zara served food, poured tea, and listened to all the repeated childhood stories of Ibrahim that always made him blush. Occasionally, Zara would turn to him, teasing with a half-smile. "So you used to be that mischievous? Funny, you look so serious now." To everyone outside, she was the perfect bride. But beneath that polished shell was a bottomless ambition. Zara knew the Yusuf family was wealthy. She caught it from scattered clues. Once, when Ibrahim casually mentioned the ancestral house by the edge of town. Another time, when she saw Mrs. Merriam receive a sealed letter from the bank. And the whispers among relatives, "He's the main heir, you know." She knew Ibrahim would inherit everything. And she also knew the only person standing in her way was the old woman, the one whose eyes were still too sharp, too hard to fool. So Zara began her plan, not rushed, not obvious. She understood. To control a man, you don't need force, you use emotion. She began with soft, playful comments. "Your mother doesn't like me." She wants to control your life, Ibrahim frowned. What are you talking about? She just worries about me. The next time the words carried thorns. She's old, she doesn't understand you at all. You work so hard, but she still wants you to live like before. Ibrahim fell silent longer than before. He remembered her repeated questions. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping enough? Don't let people push you around at work. Once, those questions felt warm. But under Zara's sweet poison, they began to feel exhausting. Then came the sharper sting. Without me, she'll suffocate you forever. If you always listen to her, you'll never have the guts to live for yourself. One night, after arguing with his mother over the phone, because she worried he was overworking, Ibrahim slammed his phone down, breathing hard. Zara sat beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder, her voice soft, but heavy as a loaded gun. That inheritance, it should belong to us, not someone who's about to die. Isn't that fair? Her words were venom dropped into a wound he didn't know he carried. Ever since he moved away, Ibrahim lived between pride and insecurity. Proud he had made it out, yet secretly afraid he was still just a village boy in a city suit. Zara struck exactly where it hurt most. From love, he grew cold. From coldness came annoyance. From annoyance came resentment. When Mrs. Merriam called, he kept the calls shorter. He replied to her messages slower. Trips home became fewer, replaced with, "I'm busy. Mom, maybe another time." Zara watched it all, never missing a detail. Every time he argued with his mother, every time he glared at his phone, every time he complained, "She keeps meddling in our life." Something coldly triumphant stirred inside her. Zara smiled to herself each time she saw the shift. While Ibrahim loved Zara without question, she was playing an entirely different game, one where loyalty had no seat at the table. Ibrahim believed he had married the perfect woman, elegant, charming, fluent in the language men longed to hear. He thought bringing Zara into his home meant he had placed a crown upon his life. In truth, he had merely invited home a fox dressed as an angel. Zara lived a second life, one that began every time Ibrahim closed the apartment door behind him on his way to work. In the morning, she hugged her husband and whispered, "Have a good day, love. I'll cook your favorite tonight." But in the afternoon, while Ibrahim wrestled spreadsheets at the office, Zara walked into hotels with another man. She spent his money, buying gifts for her lover, watches, shoes, cologne. By evening, when Ibrahim returned, she put on her dutiful wife mask. A hot meal on the table, a sweet smile, soft eyes. No one suspected a thing. No one imagined that after dinner, when Ibrahim went to bed early from exhaustion, Zara slipped out the door again, wearing a different dress, a different perfume, a different persona. She spent her husband's money as if it were her own, and worse, paying hotel bills for her affairs, hosting secret parties, rotating luxury brands constantly, footing the tab for dinners shared only with her other man. She knew Ibrahim would never check his bank statements, because his mother had taught him that trust is the core of a decent man. She exploited that lesson ruthlessly. One afternoon, a market vendor whispered to a friend, "More strange men go into Ibrahim's house than his relatives do." Another chimed in, "That's Zara. I've heard men in there while the door is shut." People might play dumb, but I see it, a motorbike driver added. I saw her with some dyed-hair guy just the other day, cuddled up like husband and wife. Poor Ibrahim. Rumors spread, not out of malice, but because everyone saw it except the one who needed to, and Ibrahim didn't believe any of them. One evening, a close friend warned him, "Ibrahim, you should keep an eye on Zara. There are things—" Ibrahim cut him off instantly. "Impossible. Zara loves me. She's just social. People misunderstand her." His friend tried again, but Ibrahim was already walking away. "No one knows her like I do." Deep down, Ibrahim's love for Zara wasn't ordinary. She occupied a void in his heart and sealed it like a conqueror staking land. Anyone who suggested she wasn't good became an enemy in his eyes. He was ready to argue, ready to lose friends, even ready to look at his own mother differently. All to protect the woman he imagined her to be. Zara knew this and used it mercilessly. If Ibrahim ever showed a flicker of doubt, she only had to do one of two things: slip her arms around him and whisper, "I only have you," or cry, accusing softly, "You trust outsiders more than your wife?" He melted instantly, embraced her, apologized, kissed her forehead, then pulled out his wallet and handed her more money. The door closed behind her each time she stepped out, and Ibrahim never asked, "Where are you going?" Because in his mind, a perfect woman was incapable of betrayal. Zara turned that belief into an invisible chain, binding his eyes, his ears, and his judgment. Ibrahim worshipped her like a believer clings to an idol. And in the cold shimmer of Zara's eyes as she walked out, with his money in her purse, and another man's arms waiting for her, there was only one thought: a blind lover doesn't require skillful lies, just a well-timed push. Zara had turned him into a puppet, a blind one. One night, Zara pretended to cry. Her tears slid down her cheeks like crystal droplets dropped on cue. She curled inward, trembling as if she were carrying unbearable pain. "Ibrahim, your mother talked badly about me. She called me a gold digger. She threatened to cut you out of the inheritance." Ibrahim froze, brows knitted, as if someone had splashed ice water across his face. He instinctively blurted out, "That's impossible. My mother would never." Zara cut him off, her voice breaking, eyes reddened. "She's poisoning us against each other. She wants to destroy our marriage. I can't take it anymore. Ibrahim." His breathing turned uneven. Zara's words, honeyed but laced with venom, seeped deep into the cracks of resentment she had planted long ago. All his life, Ibrahim had been nourished by his mother's love. But in recent years, he survived only on Zara's sweet whispers. Before he could think, Zara covered her face and sobbed louder. "If she won't accept me, then you have to choose. Either your mother or me." The sentence struck him like a match tossed into dry straw. A blind rage ignited. He grabbed his keys and stormed out, the doors slamming so violently that neighbors jumped. The road to the village felt longer than ever. He drove recklessly, flushed, his mind echoing with Zara's poison. "Your mother wants you poor forever. She hates me. She's stealing our future." He clenched the steering wheel, heart pounding. In his eyes now, his mother was no longer the woman who raised him, but an enemy to his marriage, a villain Zara had crafted. When he burst into the house, the oil lamp still flickered on the table. Mrs. Merriam sat stitching a handkerchief, a gift she intended to give Ibrahim during the inheritance ceremony. A deep cough rattled through her chest. She pressed a palm over her heart, catching her breath. She looked up. Her son stood there panting, eyes blazing. Unaware of the storm he carried, she smiled gently. "Ibrahim, you're home? I wanted to speak with you about the inheritance," but she never finished. "Enough!" His shout tore the quiet room apart. "All you ever talk about is heritage. All you ever do is control. I'm not a child for you to pull by the nose." Mrs. Merriam flinched, eyes widening. She tried to stand and approach him. "Ibrahim, what's wrong?" "Who told you?" But Ibrahim was deaf to reason. Zara's voice screamed inside his skull. "She wants to ruin your marriage." Blind fury smothered every memory of love. He seized his mother's arm and shoved her away, as though he were pushing away a threat. Thud! She fell hard, her frail body unable to brace the impact. Her head struck the table edge, the sound sharp and brutal, like a hammer blow sealing fate. Ibrahim froze, as if jolted awake. Mrs. Merriam lay on the floor, silver hair fanned out, thin hand trembling as she reached for the table. A thin streak of blood began spreading beneath her. Her eyes widened, filled with shock and disbelief. "Ibrahim, why would you?" Her voice broke apart in a violent cough. Her body curled slightly, like a small boat tossed by a storm. Her breaths came in faint gasps, like a dying flame in an oil lamp. Ibrahim lunged toward her, collapsing to his knees. His voice cracked, shuddering. No, I didn't mean it. Mom, get up, I'm sorry, please. But her gaze was fading. Her face drained of color. Her breathing thinned into a fragile hiss between bluish lips. The air in the room thickened until Ibrahim felt he was suffocating. He shook her shoulders, pleading, Mom, please hear me. I was wrong, Mom, but her body was already growing cold. The next morning, before the sun could chase away the cold left behind by the night, a flurry of heavy knocks rattled the old Yusuf family estate. Ibrahim, open the door. There's something you need to know. It was Mr. Jibril, the longtime neighbor, his voice caught between shock and worry. Ibrahim appeared, hair unkempt, eyes hollow, still drowning in the trauma of the night before. Mr. Jibril thrust his phone forward, its screen glowing. People saw your wife with another man outside town. A woman beside him added gently, as if afraid the truth might crush him. They say she spends your money like water. A young man stepped in, swiping open a video circulating on social media. She's being filmed at a bar. Look, everybody's talking. The footage showed what Ibrahim had never thought possible. Zara, the woman he defended, trusted, and fought his own mother for, was laughing, embracing a stranger under strobing lights and pounding music. Ibrahim went weak. His world shattered like glass beneath his feet. Messages, photos, bills, hotel security footage, one by one. They appeared on his neighbors' phones, like a courtroom dossier unfolding before his eyes. When Ibrahim confronted Zara, she showed no fear. She walked in casually, fixing her hair, removing her sunglasses, smirking. You think I loved you? I only loved your money. Her voice was so cold that the air in the room seemed to freeze. She stepped closer, lowering her voice, vicious, deliberate. And your mother? She was weak, stupid, the easiest one to get rid of. The last words twisted like blades into Ibrahim's heart. His legs buckled. He collapsed, as if someone had pulled the bones from his body. He stared at his hands his mother once held while teaching him to write. Hands she rubbed when he burned with fever. Hands she had kissed and whispered, "You are my pride." And now, those same hands had shoved to the ground the only person who ever loved him without condition. Ibrahim broke, not into quiet sobs, but into choking, raw cries, howls no one could answer. "Mother, I'm sorry. I was blind. Please forgive me." But the house answered only with the slow spin of a ceiling fan and the whisper of wind brushing past old window frames. There were no approaching footsteps, no tender hand on his head, no quivering voice saying, "I believe in you." The funeral was modest, like her life had always been. Villagers came in large numbers. They mourned her. They pitied her fate. But beneath their grief was deepest sorrow for Ibrahim, the man who destroyed the one treasure he could never reclaim. When the last soil covered her coffin, Ibrahim could no longer stand. He crumpled to the ground, burying his face in his hands, and people looked away, for no one knew how to comfort a man who had destroyed his own world. Zara vanished from town soon after, like a carrion bird flying off once the feast was gone. No one saw her again. No one spoke her name. No one needed to hear her excuses. The truth had spoken loudly enough. Ibrahim remained. The old Yusuf estate became a prison. He locked the doors, drew the curtains, and let time settle like dust over everything. He wandered the echoing halls like a ghost, touching the wall where his mother once leaned, staring at the chair she always used, breathing in the fading scent on the half-finished scarf she had been embroidering. For years afterward, a whisper trailed him like a shadow. If only I had listened to her once. They say he still lives there, no visitors, no work, no outings, just him and the only companions he has left. His mother's memory, his guilt, and his darkness. The Yusuf estate became the place where he sentenced himself to live out a punishment that would never end.